Okay, what I'm going to do is show you how this works. So I will say, we're going to do a new virtual machine just like we've been doing. We're using a GUI here. There is a way to do these same exact steps from the command line, which we will get to next week, okay? But this week, I want to show you how to do the automated install. So you pick your good old ISO here with Debian and use Debian 12, that's fine. And for the sake of argument, I'm just going to take the defaults on everything. I'll use the same name. And then now it's ready to install. What we do is we go down to this section called Advanced Options. And there we actually say automated install. And from here, you let it do its thing. Generally, it'll work pretty well. It might ask you one question if it can't find networking. But if it finds networking, the next prompt you get is, where is your file that has the preseed information in it? Okay. And if you read up on the preseed, it's a long read on what you can do with it. So I'm going to show it to you working, and then we will take it apart and see how it's done. So you can make your own. So what you do in this case is that I have one that I've created for this class. It's 210 and final underscore kvm slash f24.cfg. Okay. And then you hit continue. So I've got one line that I'm typing in that says, go out to the web and grab the preseed file. This could be your website, or it could be on another computer. It can be on a pen drive. Doesn't matter. It can be anywhere. I just put it up on the web because I can get to it. It also double checks my networking. And I just let it do the same. It's going to install and add the users a bunch of software. And it's basically going to just, it should not prompt me until it reboots, and then I'll get a login. Okay. So I'm just making sure this works. Now I tested this script earlier today, so I know it works on actual hardware. So I actually did this on one of the Linode servers, and it worked. So it will probably work here too. But what we'll be doing is that after we boot this, we need to do a few post-install steps. And then I'll walk through what those will be, just so the machines are kind of normal. Notice it's installing the LVM2 stack for us. So it's already installing the software for us. Now, it is possible, you know how we added 2 hard drives and then created an LVM around those 2 hard drives? We can put that all in the preseed as well. Okay. That's where you will be going. So you're going to be starting with something, and then you'll be extending it. Okay. But our machines for hardware that we'll be installing, we won't need to do the LVM because we're only going to have 1 drive in each machine. So it installs the OpenSSH server. It installs a bunch of other stuff. And what did it say? Let's see what happened. Okay, so it it failed on the software. Oh, task select is where, okay. So there's a bug in my VM, in my preseed. I wonder why it died. We'll have to figure that out. Okay, while that's loading, let me bring up the preseed file and show you what it looks like. Find it. Here it is. This is the one I'm using. Now, the way this works, the way you read this is think of the Debian package manager and you do your apt get, install, delete, purge, whatever. This preseed file is a series of commands that works with the apt get package manager, the Debian package manager. Red Hat has a different idea of how to do this. Ubuntu has a different idea of how to do this. Each distro is going to have its own quirks when it comes to automated installs. So don't take this as gospel. It will change. So basically, you remember all those questions you were asked? Well, here they go. Here we say, what language? What is your locale? And then what's your key map and your proxy string? And we're just using the time zone to UTC. And then you just change it with an environment variable, okay? And the way this one works, I'm going installing grub. Notice it defaults to SDA. That's probably why it died. Because what is the default in the virtual machine? Victor DA. So this is actually optimized for hardware, not software. Okay, which is why it worked just fine. Okay, we'll see if it dies on me. And then it says, go through. All this information is documented ad nauseum on the website. But the best thing to do is basically find one that works, that's close to what you want, and then modify it. Because writing this from scratch is quite tedious, okay? And notice it's installing the LVM. And notice here's passwords. I stored them in clear text. Tux, my first user is 1010. Generally, when you did it, the install it's 1000. It doesn't make that much difference. So we say the full name is Tux, the short name is Tux. It installs it. It also sets the password for root. But what happens is the default configuration for OpenSSH, you cannot log in as root. It's a no-no. It doesn't let you do that. Okay. That's a change in the later distros. And this is the stuff that we're actually installing. These all do something. Some of these you'll never use, but Nmap is one you'll use right away. This also fixes that arrow key problem when you try to bring up Vim, because we're installing the Vim Knox thing, Knox and scripts. And we're installing a few TTY-based tools, like W3M is a web-based tool that works only with TTY, no GUI, no mouse. So, and then we have other things like tmux and screen, ncat. These are all very useful utilities that you can do things for. And then prevent a packaged version of VirtualBox guest editions being installed. Yeah, it was very nice. I didn't want that. Okay. And then it goes to the mirrors and then it's done. Okay. That's what the preseed file does. Okay. As you can see, it's still grinding away. And one of the assignments I gave you is to install a web server and change the default homepage, right? That's going to be part of it, even though you may not remember that was part of it, is that I'll give you a recipe that, or do these following things, and you will have done all the steps, and then you'll build the virtual machine according to that recipe. And then I'll just go, I'll look at your screenshots to make sure that you followed the steps, and then we're good. Okay. So all the notes that we've done, we will see what it's saying. It's probably because we'll go here. It died because of V. That's why. This is why. I need to change the preseed to go VDA. That's why it died. So, and it doesn't look like it's going to let me do anything. So what I will do is just force it off. Yes.
Where is the script for this on your website?
I'll show you when we get there. I want to fix it first. And then this one we no longer need. Okay. Let me go fix that. All right, where's all my so many things open? So all right, here is the original file. I'll show you where it is. So I need to go down and find SDA and change that to V. Okay. All right. Now I'm ready to do this all over again. So now why don't you follow along with me and go to your virtual machine manager and let's create a new virtual machine going through our same steps that we've done previously, except this time it's going to automate it for us. It should work this time because we got the right hard drive in there. So I'll say forward, pick my CD-ROM, ISO image, taking the defaults again. Advanced options, automated install. And then what we'll be looking for is this file, all lowercase. And it will be 210 final underscore KVM EM.
Is it capital HT?
Everything's lowercase. And the file will be f24.cfg. HTTPS or HTTP, it won't matter or shouldn't matter. F24.CFG. So if we don't finish the machines this semester, we'll work on them next semester. And now we just let it do its thing. Well, that's grinding away. A few things I've separated out of the preseed file that you can go in and you can build your VM accordingly. For example, on the hardware that I have just worked on, the physical piece of hardware, which is where, let me log into that. It was SSH tux 10.18.171.22, I think. Yeah. All right. This is a physical piece of hardware that I did this same script on in the back room. This is what you'll be doing. Okay. You'll be doing that. Okay. No. Oh, you can't see it? Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, so that's basically /210 final underscore KVM. And then that's F24 as in fall 24.CFG. So what I've done is, since I configured this machine right before class started, got it all working, I decided to do a couple of things and pulled it out of the preseed file and made it a separate file, because I want you to learn and remember here documents. Remember the here documents? Those are magic in our world. Okay. And what I've done is, in this directory, I have something that does this make stuff. This is a long here document in bash. Okay. What it does is it creates the funcs file that has our web header functions that you guys have already done. It died again. Oh dear. And then the bash aliases, and it creates these and it puts stuff into the bash aliases. Technically, some of this stuff should probably be in your .bash RC. But for the sake of argument, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, did you guys die? Is yours working?
It's still loading.
It's still loading? Did you use all the defaults? Let's see if we have a uniform death across it. Let's see if we have a big, massive collective die off here.
Oh, yeah,
It died. Okay, now where does it die? Okay, it dies at select and install software. Okay, so I know where the problem probably is, and I will show you. Down here in this section where all these tools are getting installed, I bet you one of those doesn't work. So since I have a post-install process, I'm just going to move a lot of that stuff out and move it to the post. Okay. So basically, what I want to do is remove a bunch of this that I will use later. Okay. I will just, those are the ones I'm going to remove. Okay. And I'll leave the Vim in there. And I'll remove the X11 app. So let me take these and copy that information to, well, let's just do it this way. Here. I'll just copy fall 24.cfg to save.cfg. And go down and remove a bunch of those. I think I just overran the buffer. I think they're just, so I do DW and I can say 10 DW and it deletes 10 at a time. So 10 DW. And we'll add, let's see, nmap we want. Now there's a couple things. I add these things to default because it just makes life a little easier when you're adminning several boxes. Now remember, NVI is the ancient VI that everybody loves to hate. W3M get who is, and I'll delete this one. Okay. There we go. I'm ready to try it again. So try it again. What? Let me do this. I have to move it to the right place.
The same. Is it the same line up there?
It's going to be the same thing. Yep. So, let's say we want to turn it off. Boom. Force off. Yes. Now I'm starting to get a proliferation of VMs that I don't need anymore. Here's one of them. And this is what you can do. You right click and say delete. Notice what else it's deleting. It's deleting the disk file. Once you do that, that VM is never going to turn back on again. So once you do that, it's gone. Okay. Boom. And I'm going to remove this one. So now I'm ready to go start again. New virtual machine. Local media, find my CD-ROM. Go forward, take the defaults. And then what do I do? Advanced options, automated install. I'll just have to remember when you do hardware to change it back to the. I have found that you can't add too much with the preseed file as far as installing software. It'll give you a headache, as you can see. All right, https phillips.com 10 final underscore kvm f24.cfg. trust me, once you get a preseed working, you're going to save it. You're going to keep that puppy because it just makes your life easier. This is how I used to install AIX machines. There was a complete automated, very different than this, but it certainly solved a lot of problems. Takes a while to set it up, but once you do, you're done. Now, what we also have the capability of doing is, you know how we have the ISO we boot from? We can extract the ISO onto a disk drive, put our preseed file into that, and recreate the ISO file. So when you boot the ISO, it completely installs without even typing that in. That's an option. Be good for you to see how it's done, but knowing how to take this ISO, split it apart, change it, put it back together as an ISO, it's a little bit beyond the class, I think. It's not impossible. If you're interested, you could learn how to do it. It's within the realm of possibility. I just don't want to take time to, because we have other things to do, like building servers and putting them in racks. Okay. All right, whose is working? Did it die?
Still loading.
It still dies?
No, still loading.
Oh, it's still going. Okay.
So far.
All right. What I want to do is VI my save, go to that software that I deleted, and do set in U and take line 79 and write it to a file called post packages. Exit cat post packages. There's my stuff. Okay. Now there is this one. This creates files for us, okay, and does things on our system. It creates the upit script in the bin directory. It will start the TTY for us. It will change the host name. And then there's comments at the end. So look at that work. Slicker. That's slicker than dog's not on a doorknob. I don't even heard that before. My family's from the South, a long time ago, South. So I have the other one is web install. Let's do it. Let's put it with this one. There is this kvm underscore install. This installs packages that allows you to run your KVM on the hardware. You can also run KVM inside your virtual machine, so you can create nested virtual machines. You just run out of RAM. Okay, so I'm going to say that, and I'll rename this file to, let's make sure I have, I got post packages and post install. Okay, so I can do that. Let's move it first. Well, I'll copy it to, I'll just call it post ins.txt. And then vi post inf. Install packages from preseed. Then I read in post packages. And simply say app sudo. Yes. Open SSH. And then something that I have discovered over the years, this character is special. It's called the line continuation character. You heard me mention it. And it allows you to break a line so you can see it. It works this way in just about every programming language I've ever touched, and shells, although I can't speak for Windows. This will install everything as if it's on one big long line. But the line continuation character cannot have anything after it. So you can only have a nothing. So there's, if I hit my F2 here, you can see it's a carriage return and there's no spaces. Okay. So I'll go through and do this. Now, what do these tools do? Well, most of these tools are for TTY. Some of these you probably won't need, but I have found that, darn it, I gotta go install that. Darn it, I gotta go. That's what this list is built from. Darn it, I gotta go install that. So even though we've already installed those, I'll show you what happens when we do that. Now, this script is also on my web server, okay? But it's called .txt, okay? But I will leave it as is and show you what we'll be doing. So this next line installs all the stuff you need for KVM. That installs a little bit of the GUI, and then the user mod for Tux so you can run your virtual manager. Okay. All right. Notice it says post install text. Now I'm going to log in as Tux here. VMware 12, find out what my IP is. 163. And then I'll open a terminal and log into it so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm logging into the virtual machine I just created with no mistakes. It worked. I would highly recommend that you would make the password much stronger if you're going to have this facing the internet, because VMware 12 is not a very strong password, but it's fine for what we're going to do. Okay. All right. Now I'm ready to run this script and I want to do some post install stuff. Okay. First things first. All right. W gets installed. Good. So I will use wget, and then I use the fully qualified name like that, https:// ellipse, yeah. 10. Final KTM. And I need to run something first. Make sure it's in the right directories. So the ones I want to take, let's see. Make stuff, KVM install, post, and I don't need KVM. I need post install and web install. So those are the 3 files I need, I think. Yeah, that's what I need. So I need to get make stuff.txt. Hit up arrow and do post ins.txt. And the reason I'm using txt on the web server is it makes it so you can display it on the website. So I now have these files, okay? I can run them in any particular order, but let's look at them first. So the web one is short. All it does is install the web server. What's it do? Changes the directory to the default, which is var www html. That changes based on distro. Red Hat, SUSE put it in different locations, so be warned. So if I run this, all I have to do is say bash web install, prompt me for the password. And it copied the web page. Now, if I do, what's my IP address? It is 163. So if I open a browser, one 168.122.163. There's my new website. Dun, dun, dun. That all magic happened with that script. What did the script do? We'll look at it briefly again. It does the task select, install web server. Remember the little clicks we did at the beginning when it brought up a bunch of them? Yep. And then it changes the directory to the document root. It moves the original to Apache default org and does what? It does a wget of a page called basic that I keep on my website to show what a basic web page looks like. And then I copied it down and moved it to index. That's what I did. All right, let's look at the next one here. Let's look at the one that's a little bigger. This one will create a bunch of useful things for us so our LS works, or the LR1 or L and all that stuff. Because right now I don't have any of those aliases set. So all I have to do to run this one is the same thing. I simply say bash make stuff. Oops, 975. I go to, if you say 75 uppercase G, takes you there. Okay, it's not going to let me do that. Then I'm going to have to do it this way. That should work. Remember what we did? We did this already. We did the MAC addresses. Everything we've done this semester, we're now all here. We're doing it all in making it all work. Okay. And this is what a multi-line. This is unorthodox, but it works. Okay. So I can run it all over again. That's fine. Won't hurt anything. It just says, oh, there. Okay. So if I cat Etsy host name, darn, I need something in front of that. How about lab? Let's go fix that. And temp text. We can do it like this. Echo. Use it. Double quote, LAB, minus sign, double quote, no space, Mac name. Run it again. And if I do cat Etsy host name, it should be different. Ta-da! There's my new host name. All right. I have created bash aliases and .funcs in my home directory. And there they are. And that BCRC is also there. How do I get them to reread and reinitialize my login stuff? I can log out and log in again, but what's the shortcut? Reboot will work. There's another one. Source. Source.bashrc. And now my aliases are working. Okay, so the ones I like to use, LR and LR1, work just fine. Okay. I'm ready for one more. Now we do the post install. So let's see what's in bin. I already ran it. Let's remove this. Okay, nothing in bin. So now I say bash makes, oops, did that one. Post install. Oops, there's a mistake. I got some typos in here. I'm going to have to fix these. All right. Install SSH server. Probably don't need that because that's already installed. Oh, because I've run this stuff on this machine already. I think it's just giving me noise errors. Yeah, I did the make stuff, post install. It says it's already installed, I think. Oh, it's installing some stuff. Yeah, it's installing a bunch of libraries. Now it's going through and installing all the libvirt stuff. There we go. It all installed X Windows. which is where all those libraries are coming from. And we're loading enough X windows so we can bring up the virtual manager. So I want to show you that. There we go. Now, one of the things that I've done is when I run this one, it creates this file called Uppit. Remember this one? Ancient history, yeah. And now we do Uppit, and it will update our software for us. If there's anything there, now our machine is ready to roll into production. We're ready to rock and roll. We have a user, we got a password, we've got the web server installed, we got the SSH installed, we got a bunch of little tweaks to it, so it has all the appropriate software. Now, can we make this even simpler? Yes. We can put this one here. Oops, let me get in the right directory. We can put those other scripts, the contents of those scripts, into this and just run it once, and everything will work. But I can tell you that you probably want to break it in pieces, because when it breaks, you gotta install it all over again and install it all over again and then install it all over again. Yeah. So now what I do, since I've modified these, right? I want to put those TXT files back on my web server. And what can I do to use that? scopy. scopy works over SSH. SCP, and I'll say asterisk.txt and send it to, I need to put my name in there. DKP public, HTML 210, final underscore KVM. There they are. So if I go over to my machine, you can see I just put those up at 1920, and that's just about right time. So what's the next thing you need to do? Once your machine reboots, you've got your Debian VM running, right? You're going to do wget. And you're going to use those 3 scripts. And then you'll run those 3 scripts. And then your machine will be ready to rock and roll. Try it. And oh, by the way, this is only up for tonight, because you have to create it. I'm showing you how it works. So if you're smart, copy it. Now there's a bunch of other stuff in here we don't need right now. But where we're going is basically this process almost in one fell swoop. Not quite. Okay. Oh, let me do that. Make all. Make sure it's This is a script I run that runs it from my personal website to the main document root. So you don't need the tilde DKP to get to it. Okay. It's there now. So now what do I do? Well, I go back to my virtual machine, right? And I use wget.
Are we doing this on a local machine?
You're doing this in your virtual machine you just created. If you did it on the local machine, it won't hurt anything. I don't think. It might. But it's in your virtual machine. Okay. So you put it, wget those three. Remember the syntax? Just like that. You just put wget in front of it. And pull down those files. I think there's only. Oh, you cannot use wildcards with wget. So you can't say star txt, it won't work. You have to give it exactly the right name. And then once you've downloaded it and run it, blah, 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 do sudo and reboot it. And then when it comes back online, your host name will change. All right, let's see. Close that one. Keep that up. And this is the one that I just rebooted. Log in as Tux. VMware 12. Let's see what my IP is. It's the same IP address. So now I'll log into it again. And we're ready to rock and roll. We can do more tweaks, but this is enough. I would also recommend in the virtual machine, when you look at the details, you say open, it's over here. You go into your details and change the host name. Although it won't let you when it's up and running. You got to turn it off to change the host name. Now, did it all work? Did it blow up? So you do your wget for your three commands, and then run them. Because now you have the W header, right? Remember that? And the W footer. All this was added with our scripts. And we created this one called calc. We put it in quotes this way, 8 times 8. Oops, calc command not found. Oh, calc it is what I called it.
What did you edit in the make stuff file?
Say what?
What did you edit in the make stuff file?
What did I edit in the make stuff file?
You added like lab. You added lab and just took out student.
Oh, yeah. I just added this. What I did is I originally had the echo going to Etsy host name. That doesn't work. I actually have to put it to a temp file and then move the temp file to Etsy host name. But if you re-get it, it will probably work now. If you got it before I did my script, it should behave. So if you look at it, it should be correct now. All right. Yeah.
I redid the wget to the make stuff file and it still does not work. It says.
So let's debug it. You can fix my typos.
Yeah, that's sure. The error that I'm getting is cannot create /
Yeah, that's an error because bin's already there.
Okay, so
If you run it again, what's in the script? It makes a directory called bin, right?
yeah.
So it's making a directory bin again, and it's telling you I can't do that. Now, if I was smart, I would put test in there and say, if bin exists, don't do it again. So you scroll down and right there, I think it says make directory bin. It's just saying, hey, you've already got a bin. And it's recreating the effort script.
So should I just delete this one?
You don't have to run it any more than once. Because you ran it once and he ran it twice.
No, I ran it the first time.
Well, that means the bin was already there.
Oh, so
That means it was already there.
I already have a.
Yeah. You already have a bunch of stuff there.
But is it the same?
You're on a virtual machine you haven't created fresh. This is a machine that's already been created. Because you've got a GUI running. You didn't create a brand clean, fresh.
No, I didn't.
bin.
But I did.
Yeah, so if you start a brand new virtual machine,
Yeah, I did right.
then you won't get that error.
Okay.
Yeah, if you do the automated install and pull down that file, it will create a new virtual machine for you.
He's saying it's 3,000.
Yeah, that's what, yeah,
Because I was doing it on a different virtual machine. This one.
yeah. So this stuff will work on your VM, the ones you've already created, But the point of the exercise is to automate a complete install.
Is there a way to automate so it installs these three things all at once instead of doing 3 lines of code? That's a better.
Yes, good question. So let's try this. Let's go to virtual machine. Say, where's the virtual machine at? And say, file new. Yeah, create a new one. There you go. 7, awesome. Add dance, there you go. And then when that's done, then you put that in. And then your machine will be completely built. And then the 3 additional scripts that we run set it up for production.
Okay, that's what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody getting it? Everybody figuring this out?
Are you thinking on these websites after this? We can make it ourselves.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a project. It's like, please create the following. Create a Debian 12 machine with 2 hard drives and an LVM and these users and change the default homepage, everything we've been doing. You're gonna be connected.
So they'll use these presets. So
Maybe.
Code.
Problem is, you're gonna have to comment it because you don't know what it's doing. You're just taking it on faith.
Yeah, mine makes sense.
Yes, I know where the problem. And where it says listening, right at the first slash for our it's letter I. And then say MD. And then
So then this is where
I got you.
Feels like you brought up the
Possession. Change I previous one. I got you. What? Now if you cat space, that's equals. Where's your lab? We forgot it. Let's go fix it. Get up early. That file. So edit that file. And where it says echo Mac names in the first line. We can do this. We'll do this twice, so it makes more sense. Between the echo, so the letter O and the dollar sign. So put your cursor right under the dollar sign and type in lab minus and do the same thing on the next line in the same place. Lab minus. Can't remember the closer. Favorite notes. Okay, now hit up your own Cassie. Now if you reboot it, when you run it. There you go. Their host name is all changed. Okay. And now you have your website. Let's see if I have a website. Did you run them all or just the one?
I ran it on that makes.
You created a website. You didn't know it.
And so basically,
Isn't that cool?
Awesome.
Oh, you might have to resource it. Good. Type in source space dot metro. Now try it. There you go. Bingo. Isn't this fun? Now, for the faint of heart, remove your mouse. And, or so they're not for the faint of heart. Now what? Well, here's what we can do. Notice where I am now. Okay, I'm removing this. I'm removing this, and I'm taking this off. I am opening a command line on the machine in front of me, just like you're doing. And then I'm going to type in something that's magic. And watch what happens. I need to be in the right directory. Cannot open display. Guess what? I can now do this. Look familiar? What did I do? I ran the virtual manager clicky thing from the command line. So if you took the time to take your ISO image, extract it, put your preseed file in that, recreate your ISO, you could do it from the command line, just hit enter and boom, done. And that's what happens when you run a Linode instance. You click on, hey, I want to run Ubuntu, click, and it installs it for you for Linode with all the extra little pieces you need to run it as a VM on the Linode servers. I can do this again. I type it right, we'll find out. Now, when we do real hardware, what are we going to need to change? The V to the S, right? Don't forget that. So now it's installing. And I use the command line of virtual install. Trust me, folks, this is the way you really want to do it. Hey, you need to roll out a Kubernetes cluster with 7,500 VMs. You think you're going to mouse click through all those questions? Yeah, fire away.
So with that command that you typed into the terminal, are you creating? That's what
It's actually doing the same thing we just did. And because of the way, because this file is external and not part of the ISO, I might walk through that process just to, because if we can make that work, that'll make even installing the hardware that much easier.
Because you would have to,
Yeah, because then you could put on the ISO, you can put these 3 other scripts on there.
you would need.
Yeah, you boot the ISO, it load everything for you. And the very last thing you do when you log in is you run the scripts, log off, you're done. That's the way I would do it in production. Make it as easy as possible to take bare hardware and run your OS. And this stuff is documented everywhere. So if you wanted to do this, you can also add more disk right in the command line. Because what you'll be doing is taking your VM and then putting more two hard drives in there and setting up the LVM, which we've already done. Okay. What we're doing now is we're learning how to optimize the install so we don't have to sit there and answer a bunch of questions. Okay. So read in. I'll do that last. I want to add the other ones first. All right. Is it this one that I just created? View. No, that's one that's already been done. The virtual machine I just created from the command line should be somewhere up and running. What did I call it? Deb 12? I'm gonna look at the command line again. Yeah, it's called Deb 12. So let's turn that on. It turned itself off. Open. There it is. What's my IP? Log into it. $48. All right, let me finish this little bit over here, and then I'll show you. So I want to do this. R. And Ugh. Double. So to answer your question, I created a script called All-in-One. And yes, it's all in one. So we'll do everything those three scripts do that we've basically debugged to put it all into one. So could you take those three scripts and turn it into one? Yes. Which ones would you run first? Doesn't really matter, but I would do the apt installs first. Personally, the way I put mine together is I put the web server first, and then I installed the post INS, and then the last one was the make stuff. Whoops, I'll have to see if the make stuff worked because I can't remember what version I have. We'll see if it died on me. All right, good. Reboot. And now it's ready to rock and roll. We're done. How long did that take? Less than 5 minutes. And we got our production instance ready. And I still have the same IP address. And my W header footers are here. W footer and then the W footer. If I type in alias, you can see all the aliases. And to look at my functions, I can just cat.funcs. There they are. Now, I included this. Doesn't that look gnarly? How does it work? Well, it works like this. You type in calcit and you use mathematical operators that are known to bash. Let's go with 2, 8. BC command not found. Oh no. That means one of my scripts didn't run. No. Let's go look at my all in one here. Search for BC. There it is. So forth. Maybe that didn't run. Looks like it. Let's see if something else is called. How about Nmap? Nmap ran. So I don't know why it missed BC. That's good. That's there. Let me double check. Maybe it's. I wonder if I corrupted my path. BC is not found. Let's do this. SU minus, I'll log in as root. If it'll let me. Well, that's interesting. It didn't get installed for some reason. Well, is that ever strange? Probably because I put everything in one big old pile and it ran out of, because the disk is really slow on this guy, on my virtual machine. So that'll work. Anyway, now it'll work. So if I go back to the where we were going with this, syntax error. Stuttered. There we go. So basically, it's a quick way to do calculations from the command line. Okay. Comes in handy. That way you don't have to fire up another program to do calculator. All right. Now, how do I know everything's working the way it's supposed to? Well, I really don't. But this is what one of the things we want to check is console serial. Do we get the login? How do you know? What did we do to get that? That's the problem with automation. It does all this magic and you don't even know what it did. It was in our, I think it was in the make stuff one. Let me see. Yes. Remember these lines we talked about? That's it. Whoops. These are the lines that make the magic happen. Okay. And I personally, if I was to do this for the machines that I touch, I would add a VMRC with a couple changes. So my mouse would actually behave like it's supposed to. Because right now it's behaving like the original mouse on X Windows Sirica the 80s, which means that's not going to copy, cut, and paste for you. It's going to behave like the 1980s, which nobody knows how to do anymore. Okay. That's probably something I will tinker with on my own. Because when you bring up Vim, let me show you this. This is some, for all you Vi users or want to be or going to learn VI, this is a nice little trick. You drink Vim with no name and you turn it on. This would make a really great question in a final slash project. How do you create a default Vim RC? It's actually built in. You do colon and it's called MK VIMRC and you hit enter. And what it does is it takes all the defaults that have been compiled with this version of Vim and puts it into a file called .vimrc. And this is what it did. These are all the defaults. So notice where it says mouse A. If you want your mouse to behave like you're used to, change the A to a V. And then your mouse will behave correctly. Okay. Because if we look at my VimRC, I use the same one across all my instances. Mine is quite hacked. I put a lot of extra stuff into mine. And I actually like using the color scheme Murphy. Because what Murphy does is it gives me a lot of green. It's a little easier on the eyes. And then I have my hotkeys configured. And then a bunch of things that I keep forgetting, and I just put it in there as comment. Spell checks enabled. So what will I do? I don't know. Maybe I will copy them to the machines. I don't know. But for the most part, the default works. So that's what we did tonight. So we did an automated install by using the preseed file. Then we used 3 separate scripts. One did the web stuff for us, and it gave us the new website. Whoops, I need localhost here. So I actually have a website spinning. Even though what was it? It was 48. So that's another one I did. And do 48. And it's the same website because the script pulls this basic website as your new default. Okay. So I'm going to do sudo power off on that one. That's going to reboot. So I'll let that do its thing. And then where's the one I worked on earlier? Oh, it's this one. IPA. This is the 163 one. Okay. So the web install did that. That's all it did. It basically runs task select to install web server and friends. And then it puts our new default directory out there, our new default website. Okay. The other one we did was the post install, which didn't run on my VM for some reason correctly. It skipped BC for whatever reason. Now, what do these all do? Well, I'm not going to go through all of them, but basically this build essential is your compiler tool chain. So all your compilers and linkers are in build essential. So if you're going to do any development, you need build essential. Some of these other ones just make the utilities work better because we're installing a suite of utilities to make things work. This fixes the arrow key for Vim. W3M, well, let's do it this way. W3M localhost is a way to surf the web with a TTY. So use W3M and go to Google. Type in W3M and type in google.com. We don't need no thinking mouse. And there's other tools. There's even a spreadsheet that works at TTY. You know, all this stuff existed long before Mosaic, the very first web browser, hit. When the fellow that started Netscape, and they had the first web browser around 96. I can't exactly remember, maybe a little earlier than that. That's when the web took off, because the web was working like this. That's not real pretty for people, but you can get your job done. But once they started with the GUI, everybody and his brother jumped on the bandwagon. And some of the other tools that are in that category calendar, screen. Yeah, it's for the most part. Oh, I do want to show you this one. See this SSHFS? This gives you the ability on your Linux machines to use SSH protocol to mount a directory from a machine local so it looks like it's real. It's on your machine. Okay. So let's show you how I implement that here. Notice this command. This command, SSHFS, logs me into this server box, takes this directory, and it mounts it to this machine, and it looks like it belongs there. So if I update my Dropbox on this machine, it synchronizes to the server. This is why I use Dropbox. It plays very well with Linux. Okay. I cannot get for the life of me the Google Drive to behave this way without a bunch of extra software. And I haven't even attempted the Microsoft because I just know it's not going to behave itself. So this works great. SSHFS, you can use this on your Linux machine at home to mount to the JMK box and get all your stuff that way. You can actually do it that way. So, yes.
I was just saying, with that, isn't the reason it's easier with Dropbox because it's less secure?
The what?
Isn't the reason it's easier with Dropbox because it's less secure?
Well, The reason I think is the original people who started Dropbox were all Linux bigots. And they just built it around what they wanted. And then they realized that, oh, this is an actual, people might want to buy this. And then, whoops, now we got to scale. They had a lot of problems in the beginning, scaling. They had some real issues. Believe it or not, they run most everything on a very hacked version of Microsoft, excuse me, MariaDB/MySQL. So when you save your stuff, it's actually going to a huge database instance that's sharded everywhere, okay? Sharded means it's a way you break up a database so your files go out everywhere, and then when you get it, it brings them all back. Very complex stuff, but this is cool. Anyway, SSHFS. So on that note, I'm done for the evening. And so take the stuff you've learned tonight, redo it a few times. If you haven't installed a Linux box at home, you should. To install stuff, you now have the scripts to install everything you need to get a KVM working. You now know how to do KVM on a Linux box. So why not do it? Even if all you have is one computer, get VMware Player, load your Linux, and then do everything inside that.
Possible.
Is it possible to break your computer or bring your computer?
No, break.
Break. No. You might mess up the operating system install, but that's okay. That's how you learn this stuff. You break it and then you fix it.
Oh, my face.
Well, I would use VMware Player. That way you won't hurt anything. Because you're just installing another app, and VMware Player works just like this. So, well, that was neat. That VMware Player is for Windows. There's a version for Mac. I forget what it's called. I think it's called Fusion. But VMware Player only lets you run one virtual machine at a time. So you can do the same exact thing. You can install Debian, run these scripts, and then create nested VMs. So you could do VMs inside your VMs in Windows and really confuse people. Have a lot of fun. We haven't really tried that, but we did. I did that on the target machine, the hardware. Uh, 171. So it's not running. Oh, it shut off. Okay.